upon entry, but if you can mute yourself, that'd be great to start. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for our 4th annual Hidden Heroes Cities and Counties Summit. We're just going to give it another minute or two because it looks like we have quite a few folks that are joining us quickly from the waiting room. Please take this time to introduce yourselves. Let us know your name, where you're from in the chat box. And again, we'll just give it another minute or two as we wait for these final folks to join us today. Maybe if you can just go to the next slide, that just gives folks a quick reminder of some of the directions here. So exciting to see so many folks joining us. Hi, everyone. We're just going to give it another minute or two, and then we'll jump right in with the very exciting Hidden Heroes Cities and Counties and States Summit.
Love seeing all these folks chiming in from all over the country in the chat box.
Absolutely. Wonderful. Well, let's go ahead and get started. It's so exciting to see so many folks joining us today, and we're extremely excited to convene our 4th annual Hidden Heroes Cities, Counties, and States Summit. It's amazing to say we've been doing this for 4 years now, and it's so good to see so many familiar faces, some new faces joining us today. For folks that don't know me, my name is Colton Whitaker, and I am the Senior Director of Programs at the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. We're so excited and so thankful to have each and every one of you here today. Just a few housekeeping notes. Again, just to start off the agenda, if you haven't done so already, please feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat box. Let us know your name, where you're from. Please don't be shy. We're all a part of the Hidden Heroes community and family, so definitely want to encourage you all to engage with us in the chat. Also, want to note on the front end that this call will be recorded, and all the resources, all the information that we will be discussing over our time together will be provided to you in a follow-up email, including the recording. So all of that will be sent out after the call. And again, this will be recorded. Additionally, closed captioning is available and can be enabled at the bottom of your Zoom panel. Just click closed captioning and enable that there. We have a very exciting agenda, and I know many of you are very excited to report out some of the amazing work that you're all doing in your communities. So I again, definitely want to jump right in, and of course, encourage you all to chat with us in the chat box, ask questions. We have a full team that are engaging with folks there. And then of course, I want to encourage you to join in during the open discussion portion. We want this summit to be collaborative, communicative, and of course, we want to hear all the exciting work that you're doing. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and turn things over to one of our fearless leaders, Steve Schwab, CEO of the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. Steve, I'm going to hand it to you.
Thanks so much, Colton. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Steve Schwab, and I'm so thrilled to welcome you to the Foundation's 4th annual Hidden Heroes Cities, Counties, and State Summit for our community leaders like each and every one of you. As Colton said, this is the 4th summit that we've hosted exclusively for cities, counties, and states, and the extraordinary leaders who are doing such important work all over the country. My thanks to our presenting sponsor and partner, Comcast NBC Universal. They're making today's summit possible and all of the programmatic work that we're able to do across the country. We simply could not do this without Comcast support. As we begin 2023, I want to take a moment to look at how far we've come since the foundation was formed nearly a decade ago. When Senator Dole identified the extreme gap in support and services for our nation's military and veteran caregivers, she never would have imagined that we would mobilize a network of over 200 dedicated communities across the country working to identify local resources and support for our veterans, hidden heroes, and their families. I've learned quickly that real change only happens when communities come together to impact citizens where they live. And we could not be prouder of how you, our amazing communities, have come together and continue to support military and veteran families and caregivers, despite the unique circumstances and challenges presented over the last few years. You know, I've spent 2 jobs over my career working in municipal government, and I know the pressures, the passion that you leaders feel for the citizens that you serve. And that's why we're so thrilled to have you engaged in this work. So thanks for taking time out of your busy calendars for being here. Thank you for renewing your pledge today as a Hidden Heroes community, because the movement that you're a part of that formally launched in 2016 is a major movement across the country to encourage communities to increase their resources for military and veteran caregivers. Recognizing the importance of not only cities and counties, in 2019, the foundation partnered with the National Association of Counties, highlighting the crucial role that counties provide on information and resources to the veteran and military community. NACO has become an indispensable partner in our work all across the country, and we're thrilled that we have leadership from NACO here to speak with us today. Innovation and impact is happening every single day across your communities. We learn from and share with one another what's working, and we replicate it. That's what this program is all about. So we're excited to hear from key partners and community leaders who are models for how we change the lives of our hidden heroes. I also want to thank our Dole Caregiver Fellows and our fellow alumni. Many are also joining us on this call today. They're not just recipients of your work and feeling the impact of every day. They roll up their sleeves and they're involved in connect communities, connect counties, engage states in the important work that we're doing day to day. I hope the examples and the stories that you hear throughout today will inspire you to take action in your local community. And remember what Colton said, we are here to help you every step of the way. Today, tomorrow, the next day, when you want to take action, that's what this network is all about. Our summit this afternoon represents a big moment in our program. We've just passed a decade of service to the families we serve. And over the next decade, we're going to vastly increase awareness, services, and support for our hidden heroes, their veterans, and their families through this program, through the work that we do with each of you. And we have a fantastic lineup of speakers, leaders in this movement who are going to encourage and thank you as I am. Carol Eggert, who's the Senior Vice President for Military and Veteran Affairs at Comcast. She'll follow me in just a second. She leads our signature sponsor for this program. Pete Jeffries, who's the National Engagements Director at AARP. AARP has been a super critical partner at every stage of this program. The strength of their state organizations and local outreach has extended the reach beyond measure in this program, and we are blessed to have a leader like Pete and his colleagues to work with every single day. You know, Pete and AARP meet with Colton every single week. That's how important this work is to AARP. Chris Lukasevich, who's a Carbon County Commissioner and an incredible local leader and national voice, representing our valuable partner at the National Association of Counties. We're just thrilled to have Chris, and he'll speak in just a few minutes, and many other military and veteran caregiver community leaders from across the 200+ communities that we have engaged. Following our speakers, we're going to have an open discussion. This is where we need all of you to engage. At this time, I hope you'll share with what's going on in your community. Whether your programs are far along or just starting out, let us know what you need. Let's learn from one another. Let's engage. Let's bring substance to the discussion. And let's be inspired by what our Dole Caregiver Fellows say they need throughout the summit today. Now I'd like to close my remarks by recognizing a really close friend and partner, Brigadier General retired Carol Eggert, who has served as Senior Vice President of Military and Veteran Affairs. She's a transformer at Comcast NBC Universal. This event today is a special one for me because I get to take a moment to honor Carol's extraordinary leadership as she prepares to retire from Comcast later this year. Very few companies in America serve and support so many communities at the local level as Comcast does. Their commitment to our nation's veterans, their caregivers, and families is unmatched. It's cultural, it's ingrained. And Carol has lived that out dating back to the beginnings of this program, where she saw an opportunity to strengthen the support and the networks surrounding our veterans within their families, for their caregivers, and across communities. And Comcast has generally invested in that work and enabled it since the very first day. Carol, thank you for your selfless service and for your vision of inclusive support for veterans and their families and caregivers. You've made a difference in the lives of countless Americans, and we wish you the great happiness you deserve as you transition to retirement. If you know Carol like I do, however, this isn't the last we'll see of her. She is engaged in a lifelong mission of service to this community. Carol, thank you. We'd be honored for you to share your thoughts.
Well, all I can say is thank you, Steve. You know, I'm a pretty humble person, but it's wonderful to hear what you just said and to just describe this amazing partnership that we have. And our community needs leaders. Leaders don't do all the work, but leaders inspire and encourage others to join and make a difference. And I think that's what Steve has done, and that's why I jumped on board because I saw this such important work. So Steve, thank you for mentioning that. And you are so right. I may be retiring from Comcast, and I know it'll be put in very good hands, but I won't stop supporting our military community. So look forward to working with all of you. So thank you very much for that. And for everyone here on the call, good afternoon and welcome. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm pleased to be here at this year's Hidden Hero Summit. I believe, Steve, I was at the very first one we had in person.
That's right.
And I actually think virtual enables so many more people to participate. So thank you for that, and to bring in our cities and county leaders and not ask for the cost to travel and that sort of thing. So thanks for your vision to include more leaders from our cities and counties. Now, I don't know, express just how important it is to support the extraordinary work of the Dole Foundation and to support our nation's military and veteran caregivers. You know, as the Senior Vice President of Military Affairs at Comcast, I lead our company's military engagement strategy. So anything we do with the military community, how can we use Comcast resources to strengthen the military community? How can we partner in all areas, everything from employment to digital connectivity to supporting our nonprofit partners? And I would say that supporting our hidden heroes and our wounded warriors is up there as one of our key partnerships. So Steve, I thank you for that. You know, and after 30 years in the military, I now get to work with an organization that understands the need to champion those who have sacrificed so much for our nation's warriors. And that's humbling to be able to do. And that's why we're incredibly fortunate to partner with the Dole Foundation. So my time in the United States Army, as I just said, over 30 years, and especially in combat, allowed me to see firsthand the struggles and the resiliency of our wounded warriors and those who care for them. And I've been long enough to realize what the senator realized, is they are often hidden, both the wounded warriors and their struggles, as well as those who care for them. So it has been a pleasure to partner with the senator, with Steve, and this great team on the Hidden Heroes Cities and Counties program. And we recognize the importance of working together to drive systemic change. So we up here at this level, the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, we can change policy, we can change procedures, but things happen on the local level. And that's what the Dole Foundation has done. And that's what we're able to do at Comcast. We have 15 regions throughout the country. We have NBC Universal in the parks, and then we have our media and entertainment up at 30 Rock. So we reach broadly into our communities too. And I think it's important for us all to work together and bring these great changes that the Dole Foundation has made happen down to the local level. I'm always surprised at how many people don't know about the resources that are available to them. I consider myself a messenger and an advocate whenever I go into a community that, Steve, you know this. I've run into a caregiver and I give them your card and say, just reach out. They don't know these resources are available. And that's why the cities and counties are so important. So it doesn't take one individual running into one person to make sure everybody who needs it knows the resources that are available. So part of what we've done is by signing on to the 200 plus Hidden Heroes counties, including my own Berks County, and I'm here thrilled to hear we got Jim Thorpe also. I'm just thrilled that we can expand this reach. Now, we've also developed a toolkit for recruiting, training, and retaining both wounded warriors and caregivers. So the resources have to get there, and it has to be turnkey and easy to use. So that's one thing that we have done to partner with the Dole Foundation to create. And these are all such big steps for the military caregiver community. And of course, none would be possible with our beloved Senator Elizabeth Dole, who's dedicated herself to supporting and empowering these hidden heroes. Like the Dole Foundation, Comcast NBC Universal is committed to supporting the military community in all aspects, as I mentioned. We're talking veterans, and often misunderstood, our National Guard and Reserve service members, and then our military spouses and our wounded warriors. What does that mean to be a wounded warrior? And those caregivers who take care of them and enable them to live their best life. So we value the diverse experiences that these people bring to our company. And that's why we're continually working to support them. And I'll just touch on a couple ways we do this. One major way is we support the military community is by enhancing digital equity for veterans and their families. Certainly during the pandemic, these last several years, it's never been more important for military families, and especially income-constrained homes, to have internet access to connect to critical resources such as telemedicine, education, job training, and accessing the benefits of the VA. I think you know, Steve, I've mentioned I get all of my healthcare through the VA. It would be impossible without internet connectivity. Everything is done online. And so it's so important that we can bring this incredible resources to our caregiver communities and our wounded warriors. And so for the past 3 years, Comcast has worked with our network of thousands of nonprofit partners and city leaders, and we've opened what we call lift zones, over 1,000 lift zones, which provides free internet access in safe spaces like nonprofit, community centers, gyms, parks, recreation facilities. So there's a safe space for individuals to go to access the internet if they do not have that at home. And we have found that that has made such a change in the lives of especially our veterans and caregivers. And now several of these lift zones directly serve our veterans and military families. We came forward and said, great, our veterans and military families are not going to go to the same place that school children go. It's a special population. We need to meet their needs where they are. So several of these lift zones are directly targeted to our veterans and our military families. Now, lift zones complements what I think many of you know as the Internet Essentials program. And I'm speaking about this because I'm asking all of you to be advocates. When you run into someone who needs internet access, look up Internet Essentials, lift zones, the Affordable Connectivity Program, so that we can get these benefits out to those who need it. So Internet Essentials brings broadband into the home, whereas lift zones brings it into the communities. And we have partnered with what we call Project Up on a 10-year commitment of $1 billion to help build future unlimited possibilities of digital connectivity. We also, and this is where I'd like you to pay attention, if you don't know what ACP is, Affordable Connectivity Program, please look it up, Google it. Affordable Connectivity is the government program that is committed to bringing internet access to homes and to low-income families. And their definition of low income is very generous. So many people qualify for this. So please look up Affordable Connectivity Program. This is not just a Comcast program. All of the providers have a way to help individuals use ACP. So please take a look at that. And I know, Steve, you've put some information on your website about ACP so that people understand this incredible government program. Now, I'll finish by just saying it's an honor to speak with all of you here at the summit. I think we're like-minded. We believe in supporting one another, and we recognize that our Hidden Heroes cities and counties across the nation are doing such important work, and we will continue to support you. So I'm just going to close by saying thank you for joining us and this great team, and let's continue to all work together to bring these amazing resources out to our communities. So thank you so much, and back over to you, Colton.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Carol and Steve, for the introduction. We're so appreciative of you and Comcast partnership and support, and we're very grateful to have had you join us today. I want to just quickly continue on with the agenda, and I'd like to go ahead and introduce our next speaker. And really, as Steve mentioned, a truly incredible partner in this program. Pete Jeffries with AARP. Pete is the National Engagements Director and has been instrumental in leading AARP's veteran, military, and caregiving incentives. The foundation is so thankful for our partnership with AARP, and we've done a lot of exciting work as it relates to communities in collaboration with AARP. So I'm excited to introduce Pete, and he's going to walk us through some great resources and opportunities that AARP is working on in support of caregivers. Pete, over to you.
Thanks for the introduction there, Colton, and thanks for the kind words, Steve. Appreciate that. We're going to have my partner in crime, Troy Broussard, share part of this presentation with everybody today. Let's go ahead and jump to slide 2 with the 4 pillars. First and foremost, I want everybody at this forum to know I am one of you. I was a caregiver for my Korean War combat father, U.S. Army, in the final years of his life, and this really is a labor of love. So let me go over those 4 pillars with everybody. This is where AARP's focus is when it comes to showing up in the veteran and military family market space. Obviously, caregiving is number one. We have plenty of resources and content expertise to share, and we do that in collaboration with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation and others. We have our own Operation Protect Veterans from Fraud program, along with a fraud fighting center that's specifically tailored to veterans and military families. We also want to ease life's transitions through our Veterans Job Search platform, which I'm going to talk about here in just a moment. And then last but not least, what everybody wants to come to the table and hear more about, and that is their earned service benefits. While AARP is not the content expert on all things VA nor all things VA benefits, we do want to put our veteran community and our military family community in touch with those who are. So that's why we do community collaborations. And that's one of the beautiful things with Elizabeth Dole Foundation that we'll talk about next. So let's go to the next slide. Some of the resources that we have put together and some of the collaboration, which is always burgeoning with Dole Foundation. It all started back in 2017 when some smart folks came together, including Steve and folks at AARP, and said, you know, we need to get some of these good ideas on paper and put together an actual veteran and military caregiving guide so that we could give folks a roadmap on how to track their journey along the way, because we know when it comes to veteran and military families, caregiving is always a unique experience, certainly compared to their civilian counterparts. But we didn't stop there. When the pandemic hit in spring of 2020, immediately AARP and Dole Foundation started to work together on how we could support our family caregivers and created the mental and emotional health support guide. We got tremendous feedback from folks far and wide about that. Again, not overly complicated, but just some simple steps and some resources people could take so that they could better themselves during those trying times. We're proud partners of the Respite Relief Program. We're currently working on the RAND survey and forthcoming report that will dive deeper on where the state of affairs is with veteran and military family caregiving. And then we are always talking about how do we continue to collaborate both at the national as well as nationwide / community level so that we're getting the word out about the importance of finding those resources and sharing those resources when it comes to caregiving. So let's go to the next slide. One thing that we put together is what we call the Health Benefits Navigator. Many veteran caregivers have come to us and thanked us for this. It's not to replace your veteran service officer at the county courthouse or at your VA medical facility. It's not to replace the VA. Instead, this is supposed to be another resource to support you on your journey, and it has some basic information in there. We have both in English and in Spanish, basic questions that you either need to have some answers to before you have that meeting with your VSO, or that it will spur you to ask some questions so that you make those meetings more productive and constructive so that you're getting connected with the benefits that you duly deserve. We'll go to the next slide. We took the Health Benefits Navigator one step further, and we went from a paper or PDF copy, and now we're all digital with this mobile-friendly Veterans Health Benefits Navigator. And again, we know that everybody finds their own unique circumstances. And since not everybody may have an opportunity to be directly online at a laptop or at a PC, we want to make it as easy as going on your phone. And that also enables us the opportunity to expand what was already on paper and add some specialty care programs and services at the VA, including a section now on women veterans healthcare, specialty healthcare services, dental, oral, hearing, vision, emotional, mental, and then last but not least, certainly is the Family Caregivers Assistance Program, which continues to get more juice inside VA, and we wanted to bring that to life over your phone. So let's go to the next one. I briefly mentioned this in our 4 pillars, which is our Veterans and Military Spouses Job Center. This is a one-stop shop online that folks can go to get very basic resources, including our award-winning Veterans and Military Spouses Job Search Toolkit. We kind of call that the Job Search Bible for folks, whether you're transitioning out of the military, whether you're just looking to re-career, whether you're a military spouse that's been relocated and need to find a job in a new community. All of it is right here. And we know from a veteran military caregiving posture that those challenges are even greater when it comes to finding employment. So we really hope that there's some tips and resources that you will find beneficial by going to our Veterans Job Center. Next slide, please. Talking about the collaboration with the Dole Foundation, we have nearly 1/3 of our states that are now actively engaging at the community level with our partners at Elizabeth Dole Foundation. And that's where I'm going to turn you over now to Troy Broussard, who's the senior advisor of our National Veterans and Military Families Initiative, who's dealing every day with our state offices and helping to grow this relationship. One last thing is, if you want to know where to go to find some of these free resources 24/7, 365, go to aarp.org/veterans. Troy, over to you.
Hey, Pete, thanks a lot. I really appreciate it. Next slide. I'm honored to be a part of this presentation today, and being a Army Desert Storm veteran myself, I appreciate all the work that EDF is doing and working in collaboration with AARP as well, and what all the partners are doing here on this presentation. So let's go right into these collaborations, okay? Want to tell you, back in 2022, we did a wonderful professional networking session back in October, and we provided an overview to the attendees, to EDF fellows from all across the country, probably some of you that are on the call today. And if you are, give us a shout out in the chat as well too. We had our AARP caregiving expert, Amy Goyer, who was there, shared her veteran caregiving story. We had Pete, who presented as well. And then most importantly, we had wonderful breakout sessions with AARP state staff that attended. And we probably had about 12 of our AARP staff members that attended that event. And they were able to connect with some of the EDF fellows one-on-one and look to see if they could do some collaborations in the community. And let's talk about 3 in particular. Next slide, please. The first one I want to share with you is from AARP California, and he happens to be in the chat, Mr. J.R. Fujita. So if you want to go ahead and reach out to JR, he's in the chat. Him and the EDF, they worked together in 2002 on a lot of public meetings and forums and plannings. They were able to connect with each other at our session as well. And then coming up in March of 2023, they're going to have a caregiving workshop that's booked, and they're going to focus on sharing stories and distributing free resources to help veterans and military families. So shout out to JR and his team. This is going to be done virtually, but this is going to be a very impactful event in California. So keep up the great work there. Next slide, please. Next slide. The next state I want to share with everyone is AARP Tennessee, and that's represented by Stacy Pennington. She's on the call as well here today. She already put some information in chat, so please take a look at it. They've been working really close with EDF, the fellows, on a caregiving workshop that focus on AARP members and volunteers, giving free military resources to assist veterans and caregivers. And also AARP Tennessee and EDF scripted a 2023 strategic outreach plan focused on veteran and military family caregiving throughout the volunteer states. So kudos to Stacy and the EDF fellow working together in Tennessee to really make a difference. The next one, last but certainly not least, we're going to go to Pennsylvania. AARP Pennsylvania, just led by our state lead there with caregiving, and that's Kelly Von Staan and VMF. She worked together with EDF and worked together to get not one, but 2 counties in the Lehigh Valley area as Hidden Heroes counties. Shout out for them. Let's give them an applause for that. And then in 2023, the plan is to include hosting a 2-county caregiving event, sharing resources and working really closely throughout the year. So as you can tell here, we're very connected with the EDF team and the fellows. So we're here to assist and provide the resources that you need that you can help you in your caregiving journey. So I'll stop there and back to my partner, Pete. Back to you, Pete.
Not much more to add, just that we do house all of our free resources, including the original caregiver guide, as well as all those other materials we talked about at aarp.org/veterans. I urge everybody to go there, download as much as you can, and hopefully it'll help you on your caregiving journey. Back to Colton and the Dole team.
Thanks, Pete. I'm actually going to take it for just a minute. I'm going to insert myself before Colton starts. I want to thank Pete and Troy and the AARP team. I think what distinguishes AARP from a lot of partners is it's not about them, not to say that other partners make it about them, but if you saw Pete and Troy's presentation, it was practical, informative, substantive. There were tools on almost every one of those slides. So I'm going to really encourage you to work with us to link up with your state chapters. That's the beauty of this partnership. As I said, I worked in 2 city governments. We worked side by side with the AARP state folks, made a huge difference in serving and supporting our citizens at the local level in Rochester, New York, and Monroe County, and New York City when I worked for the mayor of New York. So let us link you up with Pete, the team, and their state colleagues. And let's applaud AARP for the tremendous work they're doing in every part of the country. I also want to point out that there actually is about 18 Colton Whitakers in the chat, and that's because somehow Colton's link has named a bunch of you Colton Whitaker. So we're changing those names in real time. We don't know how that happened. I saw Colton ask a question, and I said, Colton, I think you know that answer. And so if you're named Colton Whitaker, you know, congratulations. But we're changing your name back to who you really are.
Steve, I've often asked Colton if he's been cloned because he's all over the place. So I think today's forum is proving that.
It's proven it. It's proven it. We just keep giving stuff to Colton to do, as you'll see, Pete. Thanks again, Pete and Troy. And I'm going to hand it over to the real Colton, to keep the program going.
Absolutely, and thanks to Team AARP and C for calling that out. And of course, you know, I promise I'm not that bad. So if your name is Colton, it could be worse. But nonetheless, I'm excited to keep the agenda going. And again, Pete and Steve, thanks for walking us through some of the work there. I'm super excited to turn it over to our next speakers in agenda item. The National Association of Counties. I'm Commissioner Chris Lukovic from Carbon County, Pennsylvania, one of our newest Hidden Heroes counties. We're super excited to have them. I've already seen in the chat that there's a few of local individuals from our fellows program to giving you shout outs. So again, we're super excited to have you on board and extremely excited to work with Carbon County moving forward. So I'll kick it over to you, Commissioner, and feel free to take it away.
All right. Well, thank you, Colton, and good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank the Elizabeth Dole Foundation for inviting Carbon County, Pennsylvania to participate in the Hidden Heroes Series, Heroes Cities and County Summit, and thank the program fellow partners, of course, Comcast and AARP, for their support of our nation's hidden heroes. I am Chris Lukasevich, a commissioner in Carbon County, Pennsylvania, and the chair of the National Association of Counties Veterans and Military Services Committee. NACO is the only national association representing America's 3,069 county governments. We ensure healthy, safe, and vibrant counties across the nation and work to provide critical resources and tools for county government leaders. I'm joined today by fellow Army veteran and Carbon County's Director of Veterans Affairs, Christine LeClaire. Right, we are thrilled to participate today, not only because of our county was one of the first in the nation to pass a Hidden Heroes resolution, but also because never has NACO been more involved and committed to supporting our nation's hidden heroes and their families, working to find local solutions to better serve military and veteran caregivers through a process of encouraging self-identification and awareness of one's selfless role as a caregiver, and directly supporting those hidden heroes. 1 in 14 citizens in Carbon County is a veteran. Just imagine how many hidden heroes are supporting many of them. Counties work together to ensure that our veterans can utilize, of course, their education, employment assistance, their health care, and their social services. Across the country, counties have a workforce of over 2,400 county veteran service officers, or CVSOs, such as Christine and her staff. So at the local level, the CVSOs are really, I'd like to call them the proverbial bridge between the veteran and their earned benefits, connecting them with state and federal benefits, including VA healthcare, housing, transition assistance program. And for those who are most vulnerable, counties are offering vital housing and mental health supports and strengthen connections to social networks. CVSOs often are the first point of contact in the community for veteran services in 36 states and 3 Native American tribes. And they're responsible for helping veterans obtain more than $50 billion annually in federal health, disability, and compensation and pension benefits. Now, Carbon County, like many counties across the nation, do this hard work utilizing county funds. We're not federally or state funded, and certainly we don't have an administration fee for the services that are provided. It is CVSOs, much like Christine, who's leading our Carbon County Heroes effort from what is our solemn pledge to making a measurable difference in the lives of our veteran caregivers, Carbon's hidden heroes. And let me turn it quickly over to Christine.
Good afternoon. Carbon County, Pennsylvania is one of the newest counties to have signed a resolution pledging our support to recognize veteran and military caregivers. As a county veteran service officer, I see firsthand the support and advocacy that these hidden heroes provide to our veterans, and so often that support is given at the cost of their own health and mental wellness. It is imperative that we support and recognize the vital role that is played by spouses, friends, siblings, and parents of our veterans. We are preparing to embark on the crucial task of educating our community about hidden heroes. While many of these individuals may not recognize themselves as befitting of the title, there are business owners, neighbors, childcare workers, relatives, and friends who see the important role that they play in the lives of our veterans and can help connect them to the resources that are available to positively impact their lives. On a daily basis, we have countless occasions to not only raise awareness of this campaign, but to use each appointment, each food pantry distribution, van ride to the VA, and outreach event as an opportunity to help individuals identify themselves or their loved ones as caregivers and connect them to the resources that will enhance their quality of life. In addition to the vast online community that is available to support caregivers, we're in the process of creating a local network of resources and volunteers who will provide for our caregivers and offer assistance by dedicating their time, treasure, and talent to assure that they are seen, appreciated, and supported. We plan to leverage our relationships with local hospitals, volunteer organizations, and community partners to assist our caregivers in areas such as mental and physical health, respite care, education, employment, financial issues, and community support at home. In many cases, the success of our veterans relies heavily on their caregivers. It is imperative that we assist our veterans to thrive by not only addressing the veterans' physical, mental, and spiritual needs, but also by acknowledging, supporting, and empowering our hidden heroes. By identifying the caregivers in our communities who fill these roles, we will be able to properly thank them for their sacrifices and offer them support. I am very excited to begin this important work within our community and look forward to connecting with other hidden heroes, counties, and cities to learn about their best practices. I will now turn it back over to Commissioner Lukasevich to talk about the role that counties play and NACO's deepening support to our nation's hidden heroes.
Thank you, Christine. Carbon County made the strategic decision to commit to our hidden heroes on 10 November during a week of veterans activities aligning with NACO's inaugural nationwide campaign, Operation Green Light for Veterans, where we were ensuring our veterans were seen, appreciated, and supported. Operation Greenlight was really for us the perfect platform for raising awareness for our Hidden Heroes program, serving as a catalyst for the self-awareness, inspiring spouses, children, parents, and other loved ones to recognize their continued sacrifice to this nation and to those who most directly served its cause. Let them, our hidden heroes, not feel embarrassed or undeserving when in Carbon and beyond, we offer a heartfelt thank you for your service. NACO's Veterans and Military Services Committee, which I chair, supports this important county work, bringing together more than 100 elected official and county employees to champion policy, strengthen partnerships, and brainstorm local solutions for members of the military, veterans, and their families. This includes, of course, the Hidden Heroes program. Keep in mind, when a service member makes a sacrifice of service or of his or her physical or mental capabilities, in reality, it is an entire family making that sacrifice. And within that family, we find many of our hidden heroes. I'm especially grateful for the foundation and our partnership through the Hidden Heroes program, providing the services and support for the military caregivers, as Christine mentioned, sharing best practices and learning from the cities and counties, such as those that will be shortly highlighted. As our partnerships have grown, so has great progress. But we can do more with more counties, more cities, more state and federal partners, and of course, the private sector. NACO is committed to further increasing its support to this program, announcing here the forthcoming release of new data into NACO's Explorer data tool. Through our partnership with the foundation, county leaders and the general public will gain access to interactive maps, county profiles, increasing awareness of veteran and caregiver services and needs in communities. So please take what you hear in the summit and put it to practice. If your county is already participating in the program, take it to the next level. Share resources from the foundation, exploit the new data being made available in NACO's Explorer tool, and stay connected with the local Hidden Heroes Fellow. If your county is not involved, get involved. I urge you to learn more about it. Pass the Hidden Heroes resolution. Join this growing movement of dedicated county leaders working to serve those who so selflessly serve and protect our nation. I speak for the entire Veterans and Military Services Committee, the county leaders at the summit, and the rest of America's county, and saying thank you to Senator Dole, Steve Schwab, and the team for the great work and dedication to the men and women who bravely put their lives on the line and the loved ones who care for them. To the hidden heroes, we honor you and will help elevate your story so they are no longer hidden. You can be quiet heroes. You don't have to be silent or invisible heroes. And thanks to the veterans and military service men and women who selflessly serve and protect our country. Now it's my pleasure to turn it back over to Colton to help us examine the next hour or so we have together to further our knowledge to support our hidden heroes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner and Christine. We are so appreciative of your remarks today and for being here today. And you know, we're extremely excited for you know, the work that you're committing to in Carbon County, and think you know, you're going above and beyond. And we're super excited to work with you as one of our newest Hidden Heroes communities. You know, I think, you know, you mentioned the key collaboration. Really, we're super excited that we're able to showcase, you know, the new County Explorer tool that NACO has, that's going to be inclusive of Hidden Heroes data and information, so folks can access that moving forward. And again, such a you know, a key example of the collaborations that that come up as it relates to the different community partners that are a part of this program, and again can be so vital as it relates to the work that we're doing around the country and our communities. So again, thank you both for being here today, and we're excited for the work ahead. So before we get into some of the community spotlights, because I know I promised at the beginning that we definitely want to hear from you, and we wanted to open it up to folks within this call to share a little bit more about the unique work that they're doing for military and veteran caregivers. I wanted to quickly just provide an update as it relates to the Hidden Heroes Communities program. If you go to the next slide, folks that might have joined late, my name is Colton Whitaker, and I'm the Senior Director of Programs at the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. I oversee a lot of our community engagement work. However, I do not do it alone. Obviously, you've already met Steve Schwab, our fearless leader. But if you go to the next slide, we have two folks who are also on our call today who are going to be much more engaged as it relates to our community's work. So Abby and Marianne, I don't know if you want to give a quick wave as it relates to your work, but you probably have seen their names pop up in the chat box. They have been great so far. They want to engage with you more. So definitely use us as a resource as it relates to you know, further collaborations and brainstorm work forward. So if you go to the next slide, again, just starting with a quick update on our work. You know, we're thrilled that there's been so many new Hidden Heroes cities and counties that have signed proclamations over the past year. We've grown to now over 200. Here's just a snapshot of some of the most recent ones that have signed on, but we want to give a particular warm welcome to some of our newest communities that have joined our program, and even more so, those who might be on this call who haven't yet signed on a proclamation or signed on to join our community. But we are extremely excited for all of you to be a part, and we definitely want to work with you on next steps to see how we best can do that. If you go to the next slide, this is just really a grouping of photos that I just wanted to level set as it relates to the amazing work that we've been doing, a lot through our fellows and a lot with our community leaders. Again, we've now surpassed 200 plus cities and counties that are really going above and beyond, and it really starts with this the folks on this call and all the amazing work that we're doing. We've also been very busy, as referencing Steve's remarks at the beginning. We've been very busy at the Dole Foundation, and last year marked a lot of milestones. We commemorated our 10th year anniversary. We've continued to engage with a lot of your help. Over 11,000 healthcare providers at VA through our campaign for inclusive care to really be more inclusive of family members and caregivers. We've launched mental wellness pilot programs. We've surpassed 200 plus cities and counties, and of course have supported thousands and thousands of families, all with your help through our respite programs, our financial assistance programs, and through our online peer support network. So we've had so many great milestones, and we look forward to reaching so many more over the course of this next year and the decade ahead with many of you on this call. If you go to the next slide, you know, I know many of you might be newer to our Hidden Heroes program. Some of you might been with us for years at this point, but there's so many tools available that we can really help to shape how this program can impact the work that you're doing on the ground in your communities. So looking at these tools and really how to best implement the program in your community, I wanted to go quickly highlight some of these tools that we have on our Hidden Heroes website to really help you be successful. Again, regardless of whether you're participating in the program for years or just getting started, but did want to emphasize all of these different types of resources. If you go to the next slide, our Hidden Hero Cities and Counties Toolkit, this is really the the toolkit that provides an extensive overview of so many of the critical resources and examples to help your city or county either get started or become more involved in the program. This provides simple things, sample text, PSAs, graphics. There's one of my favorites, a PSA with Tom Hanks. Definitely utilize all of this to be, so you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and that way you can start to incorporate the program as you see fit in your community. Again, going to the next slide, we also have a resource where you can turn your pledge into action. This is a menu of ideas. If you're unsure maybe where to start in your community, or you're looking at new ideas for community engagement, this is a great tool. There's ideas to really give you a wide array of things that you can start to incorporate. We recognize that what might be unique in Carbon County with the commissioner might not be the same for somebody somewhere else in a community somewhere else, but we really want you to make this program your own. Listen to the community, listen to the direct needs, and of course, start incorporating different types of activities and resources that can really make a difference in your area. Also, if you go to the next slide, our I Am a Caregiver campaign. We, for folks who tuned in last year, we showcased and previewed this campaign with our Michigan coalition, who did an amazing job of really piloting this campaign, this storytelling campaign to really urge self-identification to reach caregivers in their area. Many of you, in my conversations with many of you, you tell us that, we maybe not know where our caregivers are, or really self-identification has been such a major obstacle in really reaching families in your own communities. And so this campaign really seeks to address that, encourage folks who might not fully realize maybe that they're caregivers, so that way they can start to get more incorporated in the work that you're providing and the programs that you're looking to build out. Quickly, if you just go to the next few slides, of course, we mentioned Comcast as one of our premier sponsors. They offer a wide array of things that I know Carol mentioned. We have all of their suite of information on our Hidden Heroes Cities and Counties website. So definitely encourage you to check out all of those, from lift zones to employment activities to other types of small business resources. They have been such a great partner in this work, and definitely wanted to give them a quick shout out. And then lastly, go to the next slide. Working with our Dole Caregiver Fellows. You mentioned that, many of you have probably already worked with some of our Caregiver Fellows, but we have such an amazing group of caregivers who work alongside the foundation. They're really the heart and soul of the work that we do, and many of which are in your communities and really have been such great advocates, such great leaders in working with you to be, those leaders on the ground. And so I definitely encourage you to start to, if you hadn't already, reach out to us so we can get you connected with your fellows, get you connected with the folks who might be near you. That way we can start to think about ways that we can be innovative in reaching more military and veteran caregivers in your areas. So again, that was a lot of resources in a short amount of time. However, you're going to be receiving all these in an email after today's call. And of course, on our home site, hiddenheroes.org, in our Hidden Heroes Cities and Counties site, you can access all of the links that I've gone over today. So again, I know I mentioned our Dole Fellows. I'm extremely excited to quickly hand the baton off to Betsy Eves, one of our Dole Caregiver Fellows alumni, who's really leading the way as it relates to our cities and counties work. And she's going to provide a little bit more information about her experience being involved in this program. And then, of course, some of the examples that she's been able to help pave the way in her area. Betsy, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Thanks, Colton. And I'm really thrilled to see everybody in the Zoom today. I see a mix of my fellows. Hello to all my fellow caregivers. And I see a lot of familiar faces and the partners and the community here. I'm really excited about this conversation. So like Colton said, I am a Dole Caregiver Fellow. I first started as a DC Fellow right here in Washington, DC, right where the foundation is. And I lived in Northern Virginia, and now I'm an Alumni Fellow and representing the state of Virginia. I didn't know it, but my journey as a caregiver started in 2007, excuse me, when my husband Dave deployed to Iraq for the first time. It was during the surge, and he endured 17 close range IED explosions. So 17 times. He was close enough that his, brain was rattled, his body was rattled. But it wasn't until 7 years later in 2014 that the Army decided he needed an MRI and was diagnosed with traumatic brain injury and PTSD. What prompted the MRI was his first suicide attempt. It wasn't until 2016 when I first identified as a caregiver, began looking for support, and found Senator and her foundation. Today, excuse me, my husband still struggles with PTSD and TBI, and to put this reality into perspective, on Christmas Day, just a few weeks ago, he was hospitalized again, making it his 7th since 2014. But do you know what keeps me going? Conversations like this. My own sense of pride for serving my community and our country, and my own sense of pride in my husband for what he did to serve our country. What keeps me going is knowing that I can help move the needle for other caregivers, and I can help move the needle for the next generation of caregivers that is there to support her veteran. And that gives me hope. And so I'm over here falling apart, and I literally am, but I am more motivated than ever to sit here in front of you today and share with you why this is so important. The Dole Foundation has been by my side since 2016, and you can see in these pictures, there's a picture of my family from when they hosted, the Dole Foundation invited us to the White House for 4th of July, but you can also see the other array of photos of things that I've been doing, and that's just me. I've been meeting with senators, and I've been hosting community events, and I've been on media appearances, and I've had proclamations made in 2 states, DC and Virginia, and we'll hear more from Kayla from Virginia a little bit about that success, but it's been my passion, and I know the other fellows in this conversation and the other fellows in our program do it because we know we're helping, but we can't do it alone, right? We need your help. Next slide, please. So one of the things that I'm doing as the alumni lead for the Hidden Hero Cities program is kind of thinking about what are the common themes that I'm seeing as I'm having conversations in my community. Now, these are anecdotal, okay? And these are just what I'm seeing based on hundreds of conversations I've had with caregivers, fellows, community members. And these are kind of some common threads that I'm seeing play across not only programming at nonprofits, but in caregivers' lives. The main point I want to pull out of these 4 that I'm going to share with you today is that isolation among caregivers remains really strong. COVID really exasperated it, and it kind of heightened it more than I think anybody really imagines. Caregivers are already isolated because we don't even want to talk to our fellow caregivers about our problems, let alone reach out to anybody else. I mean, we can't. So isolation remains really strong. And with that being said, now is the perfect opportunity for us as leaders to do an audit of the programming that we do have. Does it still suit our needs? Does it still suit our communities? Are there adjustments that we can make to the programming that we have in place? No need to reinvent the wheel here, but let's just look at what's in place and see if we can improve it based on knowing that we need to get our caregivers out of isolation so we can get them the support that they need. Next slide, please. Another is stronger direct support programs for caregivers. And what that means is not the high level policy issues that, the foundation is really good at talking about, but where we need your help at the local level. You have the access to knowing where those direct support programs are, and we need your help to get those strengthened, because it is those direct support programs that is going to make the impact after we bring those caregivers out of isolation. And then finally, once they're out of isolation, we've gotten them some resources, we need to build those connections again. And our caregivers are missing that in-person connection that we had before the pandemic. Personally, here in Virginia and the DC area, I remember pre-pandemic, I probably had 3 or 4 things a month to do with my community of caregivers, based off of, different VSOs, nonprofits, and cities, events and activities. And that sustained me through some of the hardest times with some of those connections. So adding back the additional in-person events to the virtual, one easy way to kind of get those connections created again. I really would love for you to just kind of use the fellows. Use the fellows as resources. Use the fellows as subject matter experts in your communities. They have the pulse of the needs of your communities. Whether you're in a big city or you're in a rural area like I am, I live in Central Virginia now. And I'm doing my best to bring the resources to Virginia here. And I really encourage everybody on this call that is in a city, a county, or a state to really connect with your Dole Fellow as a subject matter expert and a guide for you on the next steps. And I really encourage you to use these kind of 4 common themes that I've seen as also a kind of prompt for what your next steps could be as you are exiting today's summit and thinking about how you can improve the lives of caregivers in your community. So I'm really excited that in the next section, Kayla LaFond from the state of Virginia's Department of Veteran Services is going to share what her and I have done together and what we're continuing to do. And I hope that sparks some ideas for the rest of you in your community. Thank you again. I love you all for your comments. I wasn't reading them because I was trying not to cry, but I see you all and I love you and thank you. And Colton, back to you.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much, Betsy. And I actually want to hand it to Steve Schwab to kind of share some remarks now.
Yeah, Betsy, I just wanted to thank you for being a part of today and for standing up as a leader in this movement, as you have in so many countless efforts of the Dole Foundation and other organizations across the country. Even with what you are personally experiencing, you and your husband, we will be there for you whenever you need us. And on behalf of the community, it means more to us than you can possibly know that you express the level of passion you did today, that we know will translate into action across the communities that are represented. And we're seeing that in the chat room as you were talking. I had to pull my Kleenex out. Thanks a lot, Betsy. But you know, it's the real stuff. This is what you and your fellow caregivers are dealing with. And it means so much to us. I just really wanted to emphasize that. I'm going to turn it back over to Colton because we're going to move really into the collaborative part of the day, which Betsy said she was excited about, and so are we, to just hear from our communities what's going on. So Colton, take it away.
Absolutely. And thanks so much, Steve. So as Steve mentioned, I'd really like to open it up to you all. I know we have a mixture of city, county, and state representatives. We have fellows, we have partners on the call. We really want to use this time for you to share what you're doing in your community to support caregivers. You know, we've seen from years prior, this is our 4th year doing this summit, much success in these conversations, providing readouts, letting communities hear what others are up to really gain insight, get ideas, and really connect with others as well as our caregivers around the country. And so there's a couple of areas that have already reached out that want to share. But I do want to note, if you are willing and able to reach out, feel free to just use the raised hand icon and we'll guide through the process. But I do want to start with the state of Virginia, who recently signed on last year as a Hidden Heroes state to share a little bit more about their plans and their work that they've been doing with Betsy, who you just heard from as well. So Kayla, if you can unmute Kayla LaFond, I will hand it over to you.
Hi everyone. Thank you. Betsy teared me up, so I'm glad like my face is no longer red. But hi everyone, my name is Kayla LaFond. I am the Virginia Military Spouse Liaison within the Virginia Department of Veteran Services. So when I first started in this position back in September of 2021, it was important for me to be able to connect and actively listen to the stories of some of our Virginia fellows to make sure, one, I was using proper terminology so that I could effectively advocate on their behalf. Learn ways that I can help identify a caregiver here when I'm working with military spouses, and then try to figure out ways our agency may be able to better support our caregiver community. And it was during these early listening sessions with Betsy, Pat, Colleen, I know I'm missing a couple of folks, that really hearing their stories and obviously getting emotional listening to them, it really helped me kind of really understand where they're coming from. And it was building that rapport with Betsy in those early stages that she was able to feel comfortable enough to reach out to me to help get some of the services that her spouse needed on the veteran for federal benefits and such, to help him through his journey. So we are new to this whole thing. We celebrated our first Hidden Heroes Month back in August of 2022. And with that first month, we partnered with our Virginia Fellows to host a virtual event to share some of our state resources for the caregivers and then information for the organizations that also attended and how they can support the caregiver community. This year, we're looking forward to partnering again with the Elizabeth Dole Foundation and the Virginia Fellows to have caregiver-specific roundtables that will be in person in various Virginia regions. And having them being caregiver specific allows a comfortable atmosphere for caregivers to express themselves and build that support system with each other. But they also allow our agency to provide some of the services that we do and that they might not be utilizing or aware about. And it also allows our team, well, my team with the military spouse liaisons, to identify some of the gaps that our services that we might offer, and then see if there's any legislation, policies, or initiatives that we can help create or amend so that Virginia can be more inclusive to our caregiver community. But ultimately, in the end, we want to make sure that all of our military affiliated Virginia residents here, whether they're a military spouse, veteran, caregiver, military dependent, like a child, that they are able to stay, work, and thrive here in Virginia. And I'm really excited to share that. I will put my contact information in the box, but thankfully I'm able to be joined by my 2 regional military spouse liaisons. And so we're really looking forward to this year and hitting it off strong with Betsy and the other Virginia Fellows.
And just to add, Kayla, I wanted to give a different perspective from how we're going to work together too. So, you know, if you think about Kayla, she's at a state level, and I know a lot of cities are here, counties are here. So you might have a fellow that is in your state but doesn't live in your county. That's okay. So we have fellows that represent entire states. So Kayla and all of the Virginia Fellows and I are going to work regionally with her counterparts regionally across the state to build community with all the fellows and all her counterparts. So please don't think of the fellows as having to be only in your city. You know, I'm from Washington State originally, and I don't know if you noticed on my slide, but there was a picture of Senator Patty Murray from Washington. So I'm not afraid to go partner with her either to go work with it because she's not my designated state, right? So, you know, think of the fellow as a statewide asset or a larger community-wide asset for you as well. Thanks so much, Kayla. I'm really looking forward to the rest of this year working with you.
Me too. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, Kayla, and thanks for being here. I also now want to just quickly go to the city of San Antonio. Debbie Clark, I know you mentioned that you wanted to share a little bit more about the work that you're doing in San Antonio for our families. And San Antonio is one of our original Hidden Heroes communities. So thankful that you're here to share a bit more. Over to you.
Thank you. So Debbie Clark, I work with the city of San Antonio, and San Antonio signed on in 2017. They jumped right in and they hosted a luncheon, brought caregivers together and resource providers, and then nothing happened for a good 2 years. They had good intentions, but things that feel good often take the back burner for things that could be pressing, and especially something that is come and make it what you need in your community. So there was some assessment that needed to occur there. We fortunately have tasked the Veterans Advisory Commission, which each city council member has a representative on. So there is a formal structure now where the Hidden Heroes Committee is part of this Veterans Advisory Commission. So it makes these requirements that they need to meet, they need to get this going, and once a year they need to bring support orgs and caregivers together. And so just having that basic requirement to make sure that the emphasis is there as a formal thing really helped us. We started a collaboration committee and just tried to look to see what could we do, what do we have the capabilities for versus what was good ideas. So we didn't want to duplicate anything that was already out there, like creating a list of all the caregivers. Instead, we want to funnel everybody to the Elizabeth Dole Foundation site, get registered on there. If we have something to share, we can push it out that way. But we did want to ensure that we were bringing together local organizations that are doing things for caregivers or that want to be supporters, bringing them together so they can force multiply on their resources, and then they can also extend that reach. We have over 200 different support orgs headquartered in San Antonio, but some of them might do caregiver stuff and maybe have an audience of 6 or so. And we don't want the caregivers that are attending those to get burned out either, feeling that they have to go to make sure that that resource is still there for somebody else later. So if we can get them sharing distros and then just helping each other at their own events, that's good. So we've made a very simple collaboration meeting. It meets every other month. We have the standard agenda we follow. We're providing any national updates and then move into local events. And then we move over into our one event. So we've really got this going again in 2021. Mr. Kevin Krauser is on the call too. He's a big part of this and is one of those volunteer representatives that's just really taken ownership. And we are hoping to bring more organizations on board that are taking ownership so we can expand this a bit. So by having that, so we got to go in 2021 for real. Started having orgs together, started meeting, and we put together an event where just like, we have to make this happen. We reached 30 caregivers came to it. It was an appreciation brunch, and then a combination of, after the formal portion, is speed dating with resource providers. We had so many resource providers interested, but we weren't really reaching the caregivers, so we had to cap that. So it ended up being pretty much a one-to-one right there. And I was a little disappointed with that. It was like, oh, we could have helped so many others, but then it turned out to be really beneficial even having that small audience, because they got to have those one-on-one conversations, and the speed dating format did not work because nobody wanted to switch tables. They wanted to continue really deep diving in. And so that turned out pretty great, and it got the support org inspired to start attending the meetings more regularly. And we're just at the refine stage right now. So we're adding our meeting dates and times to meet better schedules for the key players that are showing up. We're going to review our distro list. We have unexpected orgs that are key players, like the United Way here. Is a great one. We don't think about them for caregivers, but they're a lead here. But we want to make sure that as we are Military City USA, we have this big medical hub, and we have BAMC here, one of the, I believe the only level 1 trauma center. So we have every warrior transition unit here as well. So we want to make sure that we're reaching into those warrior transition units, and we're reaching the caregivers before they even know they're caregivers to help get them resources sooner. We want to make sure that we're reaching into all the experiential programming to help with that isolation. There's so many great orgs. There's like archery for women veterans. I'm doing that one. There's walks in parks and such that they'll set up, all about getting out into the community for that arts, culture, and nature. So just bringing them on board as well to help share their events. And it might not be caregivers, but it's resources we can provide for caregivers. So we don't want to be the resource hub. We want to be the force multiplier to bring everybody together. But we did create a Facebook page also, so we can help share those events, that cross sharing. So ownership wise, we have a Facebook page, we have a white paper on the meeting, we're hosting the meeting, and then we're coordinating for the once a year event. And otherwise, it's just trying to share information as much as possible. And then as we get more ownership from the organizations, as if they're seeing the positiveness and benefit, we hope to move a little bit more into our phase 3, our overwatch, to look and see where, like doing more gap analysis to see what resources are we missing, where can we help try to tailor some of the support orgs to apply for grants for those type of programs, and just be more of a solution builder instead of a conduit. So I hope that helps. I think it's important to note that you have to know what your capabilities are. And we all want to do great things and put the energy into positive quality of life stuff, but where can we be successful to can have the longevity and the slow growth to keep it going? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Debbie. And if you don't mind, and if you're comfortable with it, putting your contact information in the chat. I think y'all been around in this program for some time and have definitely seen different iterations of the work that y'all are doing. But y'all are really doing unbelievable work in San Antonio, and would love for other communities who might be newer to our Hidden Heroes Coalition to reach out if obviously you feel comfortable allowing that. But I appreciate you sharing all the amazing work you're doing. So again, just a reminder, we want to hear from you. We want to hear what you're up to as it relates to the community engagement that you're doing in your particular areas. There's a couple more that I know have requested, but if you can just use the raised hand feature, that'll help us keep a little bit of track of who's next. But do want to spin it and kick it over to Carrie White and Nancy Copeland with North Carolina. And then after them, the city of El Paso can speak. So Carrie, Nancy, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Colton. Let me give a hat tip first to our state AARP advisory board, which is headed by Shirley Guerrier. Nancy Copeland's on it also, as they've been key to many events and to sharing a multitude of ideas all across our state in North Carolina. Just a little over a year ago, together, we got North Carolina proclaimed as a veteran-friendly state, which set us on a planning mission. Really, that's what the intent was, to get us to focus on areas including caregiver supports. And also we gained our governor's proclamation for North Carolina as a Hidden Hero state last May. But alone, that isn't enough to move us forward to help our caregivers. So with AARP's help, we've collaborated with our largest community college in our state to get it proclaimed as a Hidden Heroes community. Kind of a unique terminology. And this has helped me in reaching out to many other veteran service organizations and partnering for hybrid community chats, discussing things like invisible injuries such as PTSD, TBI among our loved ones, and caregiver fatigue. The Dole Navigator Stipend program has given me opportunities to gain some funding to provide food and drinks at these events. And it's let me put some tangible activities for our caregivers and for the veterans that they help. I've done a lot, not as much of the traditional Hidden Heroes cities and counties proclamation pursuits around the state, but instead I've used our governor's working group forum, which meets monthly, and it's headed by our Department of Military and Veteran Affairs state leadership. It represents our governor's cabinet to mingle with veteran service organization heads who attend, and I've gotten much of my information and my speaking engagements through this. There are at least 7 veteran community engagement boards that meet regularly across our state. And this is where I connect to share EDF initiatives. Each board is different in its local regional area that it serves, but the goal is to share events and to communicate programs to those that live in that area. These groups can include VFW members, American Legionnaires, auxiliary members, and a slew of other veteran service organizations that exist for veterans and family. For me, getting on boards has helped me to connect with communities across the state. For example, I'm on a subcommittee at the governor's working group, and we're beginning to work with these engagement boards all across our state. AARP Advisory Council is one of those engagement boards. Information flows up and down to help our veterans and their family members. For me, the answer has been to seek our state veteran leadership branch in the government and connect through the governor's working group to the countless veteran service organizations across our state. If I get asked to speak or to present, I never turn it down. I was just asked to film a few segments for our veteran service officers that will be used for training new VSOs who are state mandated across all our 100 counties to help our veterans and families with transitioning, disability, VA enrollment, and a lot of other facets. So I'll bring up our state's caregivers who need supports as well to support their veterans. A few years ago, our state established an organization called NC Serves. It's for veterans and military, but now it's part of NC Care 360. Out of Syracuse University event originally. It's a one-stop call center where you connect to a live, real person who can help you with your question and solve your dilemma, whether it's something large or something small. In North Carolina, we have 12 military installations and nearly 800,000 veterans. NC serves as the country's first coordinated system of public, private, and nonprofit organizations working together to provide support to veterans and family. One of the largest Veterans Benefits Live is coming up this March, and I'll be there in North Carolina. I'll have a table to share information about the Elizabeth Dole Foundation. I'll also have a stack of AARP caregiver guides too to pass out. This is a one-stop event to afford veterans the opportunity to enroll in the VA for benefits or gain a disability rating challenge one through discussions with available VSOs. It's also an opportunity for different veteran service organizations to share what they offer to help veterans and their families in our state. We have between 3,000 and maybe even up to 5,000 families that will come through in 3 short days. And we offer 2 or 3 of these across our state each year. Some of you may know them as stand downs. It's a great way for fellows to spread the word and to make connections. In my state, I haven't gone the traditional Elizabeth Dole Foundation fellow route through cities and counties, but with the help of AARP and other community collaborations, we're definitely helping make a difference for our caregivers and their veterans. It's hard to separate the two, and the VA medical centers are super helpful reaching the caregiver audience with their caregiver support program. I've gotten Betsy Eves, Stephanie Hall, and other fellows to speak with me in webinars hosted by some of our VA medical centers to our caregivers and clinicians alike. Honestly, I've found a lot of traction between the two unified, veterans and their caregivers. Our state government has the two intertwined, and I emphasize the importance of hidden heroes in all veteran circles. I use my testimonial. I gently offer better inclusiveness of our caregivers, and this seems to be working for me in North Carolina. To new fellows that are out there, maybe on this platform today, you might not see your immediate effect always in your state in the beginning, but you're planting seeds and you're spreading awareness. And before you know it, you'll realize how you're impacting how your communities think about caregivers. As Betsy said, hopefully some of these comments will spark ideas for fellows and community organizations out there. Thanks, Colton. Back to you.
Thank you so much, Carrie. North Carolina is doing such amazing work, and I appreciate you taking the time to share a bit more about how your approach and all the exciting things ahead. A couple other, I know I was going to hand it off to our El Paso city. So Linda was going to hand it to you, and then Ellen with Brazos County, I see your hand up, so I'll click on you. I'll go to you right after El Paso.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Linda Mays, and I am can you all hear me? I'm not sure if I'm.
Yes, we can hear you, Linda.
Okay. I am the El Paso Hidden Heroes spokesperson and a 2021 fellow from the Elizabeth Dole Foundation, of course. And I want to touch a little bit on what we're doing here in El Paso. So immediately, I love everybody's. Carrie, I identified a lot with you and Mill City, San Antonio, because a lot of the initiatives we're doing here in El Paso. So El Paso County has adopted Hidden Heroes, everything Hidden Heroes under their strategic plan. So I am basically included in all meetings related to veterans and caregivers, because a lot of times people don't understand. You talk about veterans, you cannot disregard the caregivers and their families. To me, you cannot have one without the other. So a lot of what we do is based around what veterans events, veterans initiatives, and anything veteran related is we plan around that. We ensure to incorporate our caregivers. A lot of what we do, I want to make sure that I touch on what we did in October, and we have another one coming up in March, is we have a veteran and caregiver survivorship and estate planning summit. I know it's a mouthful, but we include making sure that we educate and provide the resources for veterans and their families to get educated on their benefits, on the caregiver program through the VA, all the VA programs that they might need on their journey, especially the pre-9/11 veterans and family members. We provide them with financial services, assistance through our VSOs. We update them on the state. We have somebody from the state talking about the disabled plates, the veteran plates, their county taxes, everything that they're entitled to. We have somebody from Social Security that comes and talks about how those two, especially if they're service connected, how they can meld those two programs together, because I know a lot of people have questions around that. We talk about, we have partnerships with Fort Bliss. They're always, and the VA, Froilan Garza, our director, they are at every event. I have quite a relationship with the VA, our county VSO is Carl Dwyer, and our chief military officer is Paul Albright. We are a partnership that we do everything that we do out in the community incorporates and ensures that our caregivers are included. I just wanted to tell you that our caregiving summit was such a success. We had it in October that we expanded it to 2 days, and coming March 22nd and 23rd, we partner with the VA, we're partnering with the county and with the city, and ensuring that all the different aspects of caregiving, the caregiving journey from beginning to end, including with Fort Bliss Cemetery and financial planning and estate planning, we have vendors there. And it's such a success in that. The other thing I want to touch on is the partnerships with the rural areas. We make sure to incorporate our rural areas, because if you're familiar with El Paso County, we have Fabens, we have Clint, we have Socorro, we have Sonelli. We make sure to include those because a lot of times rural counties are overlooked. We make sure that they're counted, that their needs are incorporated into whatever strategic goals that we're planning for the next 5 years. As a matter of fact, that's why Carl Dwyer couldn't make it. He's in strategic planning today. So doing good work as always. And just a little bit more, I just want to make sure that you all know we're doing so many good things. I also want to touch on the fact that we became Veterans Capital USA 1 November. And a lot of what we're doing within the county is making sure that I'm going to read our statement. It says, we are grounding our claim to the Veterans Capital of the USA on our rich military history, continued partnership with Fort Bliss, social support partner networks, and steadfast commitment to veterans and their families. Where in El Paso, every day is Veterans Day. So here we like to say, we don't have a resource problem, but we have an education problem. So this is what we try to do: educate, 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 and bring all those resources together to ensure our caregivers know what is out there. Thank you, Colton.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Linda, and really appreciate all the amazing work that you, Carl, and the rest of the team in El Paso are doing for our families. I now want to hand it over to Brazos County. Howdy, Ellen, good to see you. And I'll hand it over to you. You can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Howdy, Colton. For those of you that don't know, that's an Aggie thing, but we are actually representing Brazos Valley. Why we have 2 hidden hero cities, College Station, Bryan, and Brazos County, but there are 6 more. Linda's spot on. In some of these rural areas, especially Texas, we have 2 area codes. It's big. But when we got together, I'm going to steal we have resources, but not education. I like that tagline. We've got monthly meeting with the Coalition of Brazos Valley veterans organizations, working with our government. But one of the things, we did a need assessment for, and I don't know how to do this. I tried to send it to you, but I'm not the geek girl I used to be. We actually have transportation for veterans and their caregivers. We have a veterans van but that was the first of many steps to get into our ultimate goal of Veterans One Stop. And that's why we were talking yesterday with Colton to say, what can we do? Is anybody out there? I found some veteran service centers up in Colorado. If anybody has any ideas, I'll provide my email. There's one up in Heart of Texas. In Waco, I saw a new Hidden Hero City is Killeen, so they're not going to be safe. I'll call and welcome them. But if you can provide any insights about that, we would really appreciate it. And thank you for this resource. It really is phenomenal. Thank you.
No, absolutely, Ellen, and so good to see you. And yeah, howdy is a phrase that, you know, I, as a graduate and proud alumni of Texas A&M University, it's great to see all the amazing work that you're doing there, and excited to see the work that we can do moving forward.
It's not me. Teamwork makes the dream work. It's this community. That's what this common thread is that local involvement. So thank you all, and I'm going to sign off. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Ellen. And Ellen makes a good point. Of course, you know, if you do see some neighboring communities or even individuals that you might want to get connected to, please reach out to myself, Abby, Marianne. We're happy to make those connections. We want to make sure that we are drawing those relationships, building those even more. And of course, we want to be, you know, that avenue to allow that organic dialogue to happen and partnership to happen. So definitely feel free to reach out. I see, Rob, your hand is up, and then after Rob, we might close it out depending on where we are with additional hands. So Rob Greer, I will hand it over to you out of Pennsylvania. Yep, Rob, you can just unmute yourself. All right, we might not have Rob on for this portion. Might come back to him. Is there anyone else that wants to provide a readout? Again, we do you know, want this to be an open time for folks to share, but again, we don't want this conversation to necessarily end today. You know, as I mentioned at the beginning, there's so much exciting work that so many folks are doing and so many community leaders are doing around the country. And, you know, this is just the beginning as it relates to, you know, the next decade of work at the foundation and the work of this program. So we want to continue our work together. And of course, we want to utilize you know, these connections that we're making today to jumpstart a lot of the work moving forward. So we'll see if Rob is able to connect. It looks like you're on camera now. Rob, I'll hand it over to you to see if we have the audio. Oh, Rob, I don't know if we're able to hear you. Doesn't look like we're able to hear you, unfortunately.
Rob, we're so sorry. We'd love to hear from you, but we can't hear you. We'll have another gathering really soon and make sure that we get you on. I'm so sorry. We can see you and your dad, and I think that's your dad. I don't know, maybe not. I can't. All right. I don't think we're going to have a technical ability there, Rob.
Yeah, sorry about that, Rob.
I could probably say something.
Perfect.
Yeah, I think, you know, Bob and Rob are going to talk a little bit about VetTrans and some of the things they were doing for transportation. So my name's Matt Doss. I'm the, okay, I got a thumbs up over there. My name is Matt Doss. I'm the former Taxi and Limousine Commissioner for New York City. And I'm also president of the International Association of Transportation Regulators. So these are state and city government agencies that I represent all over the country. And one of their responsibilities in regulating taxis and limousines and liveries and transportation network companies, i.e. Uber and Lyft, for the general public, is service to people with disabilities. And, you know, in terms of the ADA, there are different types of funding streams available for people with disabilities. Either you're going to go through the usually arcane and non-functioning public paratransit system, where you go to public transit and they have vehicles that you have to reserve, a week or two in advance, which is a problem for veterans and for all people who are disabled. Number two, you also have the system of healthcare providers. And the field is known as non-emergency medical transport, or NEMT. And a lot of these services, to and from the vets hospitals, and any medical provider, if you have a disability, are done with reimbursement from the federal government usually, and some state governments, federal and state and local, but mostly federal and state. So long story short, there's no one who's really done more than Bob DeLucia, who is from Pittsburgh, who's there. Wave hello, Bob. He's with Rob Greer. So he's got one of the largest and most successful transportation companies in Pittsburgh, and ahead of his time, for years, as a lawyer, since I left government, I've been representing Bob and trying to help him out in terms of the legal framework for providing jobs for veterans, but also for engaging with veterans hospitals and providing transportation services. And we're going to be hopefully embarking on a project where we're able to join forces with the foundation and other players in the industry to roll out a transportation program around the country that'll work. The problem that we have is that when the Americans with Disabilities Act passed, there was extensive lobbying by the taxi industry to exempt them from the original 91 laws. So what happened is as time went on, 30, 40 years later, local cities like me, when I was at TLC in New York and Chicago and all over the country, the local regulators that I represent started putting mandates on the taxi industry and to try to put wheelchair accessible vehicles out there. Bob was doing it voluntarily, with a vehicle known as the MV1 many years ago, which is no longer available. A purpose-built wheelchair accessible vehicle, but also his there are other issues there because it wasn't just about transportation for the passengers that are veterans. It was also about employing veterans, which was a big important part of his project. So the problem that we have now is that Uber and Lyft don't provide accessible services. They've avoided it for many years and even paid for the taxi industry to do it. So there's a lot of supply out there. There's tons of wheelchair accessible vehicles out there that are not being used. In New York City, when I left government, they quadrupled or tripled the number, but there's no coordinated app, there's no phone number, there's not one service that you could call, and there's certainly nothing for veterans. So the project that Rob and Bob are working on together, and I'm involved in it too, which our regulators support. The government regulators are supportive of having maybe a franchise type of system where Bob can go into different communities. Like, let's say we're going to go into Tampa, Florida, and there's unused wheelchair accessible taxi cabs. The goal is for him to have an integrated system where the VA hospitals can get access to a broader network of transportation, partnering with those local entities and overnight kind of take what inventory is not being used out there, put it on a platform and provide services. So I don't know if you want to throw something in the chat, gentlemen. I hope this portrays what you wanted to get across as you were muted. Yes or no? Am I missing something? Other than Rob Greer is a legend. Yes, that I know. And also Rob DeLucia is also a legend in my book too. So I hope we can maybe even at a future event talk a little bit more about this project in the weeds. I'm sure we'd love to present what we're doing. And we're going to be moving fast. So I think in the next 6 months, you're going to see a lot of activity, but transportation is really important. And in general, hospitals and medical facilities don't get the best transportation, let alone veterans facilities. So hopefully this can provide jobs to veterans and make for more affordable, but more importantly, more efficient and safe transport. So you don't have to sit around waiting if you have a dialysis appointment for like 4 hours for a car to come. And the big problem across the country too is if it's not a wheelchair vehicle or a dedicated vehicle, you have to wait for 5 people to be dropped off. This is the problem with Access-a-Ride in New York. They have 4 spots for 4 wheelchairs. And, you know, if you pick the wrong time of the day, not only are you going to be late for your medical appointment at the hospital, but you're also going to have to wait. It's because of 3 other people being in the car with you. So it's a point-to-point on-demand service that works best. And I think transit agencies are starting to see that now. A lot of transit agencies, you know, give out contracts to brokers to put all these different companies on the one platform. So I think the easiest way to envision this business model is that this is a platform for veterans who are disabled to get transportation. It's purely and simply for them. And that is going to be a niche product offering that is going to build on some of the successes and address some of the failures in the system. So it's exciting. And, you know, we're hoping that we can collaborate with a lot of the people on this call, and I'll throw all of our contact info into the chat box now. Thank you.
Wonderful. No, thank you for sharing all that, and definitely excited to be looped into your plans as things move forward. And I see folks exchanging contact information already in the chat, which is great. I know there's a lot of synergy as it relates to the folks on this call and how folks can better work together on the different programs and things that they're moving forward. So definitely thank you for sharing that, and again appreciate the organic connections that we're making today. So
be a designated hitter. So thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Well, I want to pause there and really just first off thank everybody for chiming in and for your input today, and really all the amazing and hard work that you've all done over the past year, and again all the plans that we're moving towards. I want to give special shout outs to our presenting sponsor Comcast, NBC Universal, as well as AARP and NACO, who've been such great partners in this space, and we're extremely excited to work on all of the things that they shared a little bit earlier together moving forward. I want to reemphasize that everything that we discussed today, the links, the recording, you'll be receiving that shortly later today in an email. So you will be able to access directly the different links that Comcast, that NACO, that AARP, and other partners shared. And again, that'll be right at your inbox to the email that you registered with. So again, I want to wrap up and just give one more thank you to all of our speakers, to all of our partners, all of the folks on Team EDF who has really made today happen. One thing that I think we realized over the course of this event is, yes, it's great that this is the 4th one that we're doing annually, but seeing the chat and seeing the dialogue, this needs to happen more often. We really need to convene all of our city and county leaders and all of the folks involved to making sure that we're having these opportunities to collaborate, think innovatively, and really hold each other accountable, recognizing that there's just so much work that we can be doing together across the country. So I think that's one thing that I'm taking from today is I want to convene these more often, and I hope that you're willing and able to join us more frequently as well. And of course, I'm excited to work with you all on all the amazing things that you're doing across the country, and look forward to seeing your emails in response to today's conversation and getting some meetings planned so we can start putting some action oriented stuff and steps in the days ahead. So want to just end and thank everybody again for joining us today. And I hope everybody has a great rest of the week, and we'll see each other again soon. Thanks, everybody.